The Galactic Council, a governing body of the most powerful species in the galaxy, had long sought to bring the Terran Empire under control. Humanity, despite its relatively recent entrance into the galactic stage, had become an unexpected and rising force. The Council had warned, threatened, and negotiated, yet the humans continued to expand and assert their power. Finally, the Council delivered an ultimatum: disband their military, surrender their colonies, and submit to the Council's rule, or face annihilation. What they didn't expect was humanity's response. Prologue: The Council's Decree. The chamber of the Galactic Council was a grand, ornate hall where species from every corner of the galaxy gathered to decide the fate of worlds. Representatives from each of the leading species stood in a circle around the central podium, where Grand Arbiter Soltar raised his hand for silence. "Today, we pass judgment on the Terran Empire," Soltar declared, his voice echoing through the chamber. "They have defied the laws of peace, expanded aggressively, and posed a threat to the balance of power. The time for negotiations is over." The council members nodded in agreement, their species ranging from the towering insectoid Girak to the aquatic Var, their robes swirling as they murmured among themselves. "The humans will either submit," Soltar continued, "or they will be erased." Chapter 1: The Terran Response. On Earth, deep within the heart of the Terran Empire's capital, a different kind of council convened. The Emperor of Terra, Marcus Kale, sat at the head of a round table, flanked by his most trusted advisors and military leaders. "They actually did it," General Arden said with a shake of his head. "They've issued an ultimatum, thinking we'll bow down." "They don't understand us," Kale replied, his voice calm, but his eyes fierce. "They think we'll bend, like the other species they've bullied into submission." Kale stood, looking at the holographic projection of the Council's decree hovering above the table. "But they've underestimated us. The Council may be powerful, but they forget one thing. Humanity thrives under pressure. We won't cower. We'll fight." "What's the plan, sir?" asked Admiral Serana, her gaze steady. Kale's lips curled into a determined smile. "We strike first." Chapter 2: The Council's Underestimation. Back in the Council's Grand Chamber, the ultimatum had been delivered, and the members awaited the Terran response. Days passed without a word. Confidence spread among the Council members. They believed humanity's silence was a sign of their impending submission. But one evening, Grand Arbiter Zoltar received an urgent message. The holographic transmission flickered to life, revealing Marcus Kale's face. "We've received your ultimatum," Kale said, his tone cold and resolute. "Here is our response: no." As the message ended, council chambers erupted in chaos. Soltar's expression turned grim as reports began pouring in. Terran fleets had mobilized. Human warships, advanced and deadly, were already striking key council-controlled worlds, disabling communications, taking out military installations with precise and overwhelming force. They attacked first?" One council member stammered. "They didn't even hesitate," Zoltar muttered, realizing the magnitude of their mistake. The Terran Empire had struck with a speed and brutality no one had anticipated. Chapter 3: The War Begins. The Terran Empire's military was unlike anything the Council had ever seen. Human warships, equipped with adaptive shields and devastating railguns, tore through the Council's defenses like paper. Battle after battle, the Council's forces were overwhelmed by human tactics that relied on cunning, innovation, and sheer resilience. On the battlefield, the humans didn't fight like other species. Where others would retreat or break under pressure, the Terrans dug in deeper, fought harder, and pressed forward with relentless determination. In one key battle over the planet Zerna Prime, Admiral Serana led the charge against a council armada 5 times the size of her fleet. "We're outnumbered," one of her officers said. "We've always been outnumbered," Serana replied with a smirk. "Let's show them what that means to us." Within hours, her fleet had torn through the enemy lines, leaving the council's armada in flames. Chapter 4: Humanity's Secret Weapon. As the war raged, it became clear that the Terrans had another advantage: their ability to innovate and adapt. While the Council relied on rigid strategies and outdated doctrines, human scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to develop new technologies. From AI-driven drones to enhanced cyber warfare systems, humanity continuously found ways to turn the tide of battle. But their greatest secret weapon wasn't technology. it was their spirit, the indomitable will that had carried them through countless hardships throughout their history. Humans had a knack for thriving under impossible odds, and now they were channeling that spirit into every facet of the war. The Council's soldiers had never faced an enemy like the Terrans. Even when they took heavy losses, humans refused to surrender, fighting with a ferocity that terrified their enemies. Chapter 5: The Council's Fall Months into the War. The Galactic Council was on the verge of collapse. Their fleets had been decimated, their allies were abandoning them, and their worlds were falling one by one. In a desperate move, the Council called for a ceasefire, hoping to negotiate a truce. But the Terran Empire wasn't interested in peace. On the day the Council's surrender was officially accepted, Marcus Cale stood before the ruins of the once proud Galactic Council. His victory speech was broadcast across the galaxy. "This war wasn't about conquest," Cale began, his voice steady. "It was about freedom. Humanity will never bow to threats or ultimatums. We stand for those who cannot stand for themselves. And now, the galaxy will remember, if you challenge us, you will face the full might of the Terran Empire." Epilogue: A New Galactic Order. With the Council's fall, the Terran Empire emerged as the dominant force in the galaxy. But rather than ruling through fear, they extended a hand of cooperation. They forged alliances with species that had once feared them, offering protection and aid in exchange for mutual respect. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humanity could not be tamed. They were survivors, warriors, and above all, a force that thrived in the face of adversity. And now, with the Council's defeat, a new era began, one where humanity's resilience would shape the future of the stars.